inmate or they give it to one of our other employees, a correctional officer.
We fall underneath the same
And
security.
you handle
requirements.
liability,
Yep.
any lawsuits regarding that.
Yeah, and if that employee would sue, we get sued on that.
You said that the prescriptions that you provide come from a large, let me use the word, a company that is mail order.
Yes.
Is that what we're saying?
Yep.
What happens on a prescription that's of immediate need?
We also have a local backup. So inmate Frank comes in, Amy does the assessment, says he needs medication X. If it's a non-formulary medication and it's life-sustaining, life-threatening, then the order is given, get the medication from the medical director, and then typically we have a local pharmacy that we have for just those kinds of emergencies.
Can I interrupt? We also have emergency boxes and non-emergency boxes, and a provider will give orders. So we always have a stock of meds that are typically used in certain instances to use as well. Say if it's in the middle of the night, weekend, when a pharmacy is closed.
I was thinking more in line of something that came out of the blue.
A local pharmacy, we absolutely go and get it.
I believe for Rockingham, we use the Rite Aid, which is right up the road.
Yeah, we have right in up there.
Telemarketing you were doing on psychiatric evaluation, I mean, teleconferencing, whatever you call it.
Telepsychiatry?
Telepsychiatry. That's, you provide the equipment to do that?
Yes.
And because, I mean, just in corrections in general, right now, we're running about 60% of the people that come to our facility have some sort of psychiatric need. That's something you're absolutely familiar with.
Yes.
Right, I mean,
And they're getting worse.
It's the growing population.
Yes.
I mean, some of the questions I'm hearing, I got to figure that, you know, you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of experience through all the facilities that you have and stuff like that.
Yes, sir.
And then you said you had all of West Virginia and a good portion of Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Is there any data available, or can you provide anything, like the amount of problems that facilities were having with lawsuits and, you know, bad medical practices in the sense of staffing, that you came in and you actually improved the situation for the state? Improve the situation with the facilities, not the state, because you just took over the contract, so it's your situation.
That's right, yes.
Right, so,
I have the best example ever. Hi, I'm Denise, I'm the regional.
yeah.
I just got a contract, it was a year ago in April, actually, in a small county in Pennsylvania. And what happened was, it's a very, very old prison built in 1876. They occupied this prison the same year that like Custer had his last stand. That's how old this prison is. And their services, the inmates didn't feel were up to standard, they didn't feel they were getting the right medical care. They had a class action lawsuit filed against the county. Because the county, again, had their own nurses, limited services, and this hit. Well, then they called Prime Care and said, can you help us? Can you turn this around? Can we meet the standard and not bankrupt the county? And that's when I walked in, and Derek and Frank and I, in April last year, and right now, that facility, even though we don't have a great facility, it's nothing cutting edge, God knows, we have improved their care 1,000-fold to the point that now that whole lawsuit is just going away. Because every one of those things that these inmates had said, we have corrected. We've corrected beyond their expectations and what they had requested.
And once again, I'll be honest, this is all public records, I'm not speaking out of turn, at Northumberland County.
That's what it is, Northumberland.
They have a huge class action lawsuit. In fact, it's supposed to be resolved
I'll be in
this
federal court tomorrow.
tomorrow. Not that we are active participants in it, but we were brought in as the management company to address the medical needs the county was alleged not being provided. We brought in our policies, we brought in our procedures, much like we had talked to the superintendent about, and they've reached what I believe is a settlement term. So instead of getting written up or lit up by a big lawsuit for, I don't know how much it was, the county's still gonna have to pay some because there were, in my opinion, kind of some deficiencies that need to be corrected. But the county, also again, in my opinion, was proactive, saying, we could do nothing and just wait for this lawsuit, this class action lawsuit to percolate, and then it's gonna be a field day. Or we can bring in a management company, allow them to manage the health care of the patients, and see exactly where the plaintiff's attorneys are. And like I said, Derek, I would actually be there, but I have another meeting, but it's in Harrisburg Federal Court tomorrow. Settlement agreement's supposed to be kind of consummated. Both parties are supposed to sit down and say, we're done with this lawsuit. So that is absolutely a great example, Denise, of when we were brought in to help the county help resolve some of the medical problems. And they not only had medical problems, Denise wasn't kidding when she said Custer's last stamp, that's when the jail was built.
We just tore our stamp.
Well, we, yeah. They
still have some huge facility challenges, in my opinion.
But that's a worst case scenario, but if commissioners are interested, you can provide data sheets showing some decrease or increase in certain kinds of situations on a broader basis. That's a single instance, right?
Yep, that's probably the best single instance, most current single instance.
Jason, how much time do you spend now just thinking strictly about nursing issues and stuff? Because it's your responsibility now, right?
And you're admin on this week, and this year has been rough. Dealing with the issues from last year, and then just continuing coming into this year. Just brief the commissioners on an issue we're presently dealing with.
And that's one of the things that also, as a management company, once again, we partner, but we try to believe that we take the headaches that the warden or superintendent, executive director, whoever's in charge of that facility, and we try to say, we get paid a fee. We get paid a fee to handle those headaches. So whatever time you spent, 10%, 15%, 70%, whatever that time is, you can now devote to security, whatever areas that you need to go. And it's honestly our responsibility. And it's simply a matter of whoever our manager would be, Amy, take care of that. Or if Amy can't take care of it, get Denise on the phone, who's the regional, take care of it. And then if Denise and Amy collectively can't, just go right up the chain.
So most likely, Amy, you'd be taking care of our facility as well as Rockingham?
No.
I don't think
It's okay,
No.
honey, breathe deep. No, we would have someone.
We would have someone, an Amy-like person.
Yes, an Amy like her.
Yeah.
However, I can tell you from working with Prime Care, that's one of the beauties of it. There's always someone you can call, there's always someone you can help. No one is ever too busy to speak to you, talk to you, help you, fly in to help you. That is the beauty of it. And also, we do, my philosophy, and Prime Care's philosophy is work as a team to resolve any issues, communication, make it better.
That's another good question, sir, and I'd just like to also point out, that's part of our business model too. If Amy's not gonna be on this island down there at Rockingham County, whoever the new administrator is gonna be here that we would hire, let's say it's Derek again as an example, of course, we make sure there's a lot of communication going back. Because the problems we're having here probably weren't as much different than the problems they're having there. And honestly, getting back to your question, if we do have some opportunities, like Frank needs to take vacation, we cross-train all our nurses, because what we try to do is have standardized policy and procedure. So if Frank's a PRN nurse, and I'm up at Rockingham County, and I want to get some more hours, and Derek's the HSA down here, or up here at Carroll, and there's some opening staffs, it's an easier transition for us, because all the nurses are trained in accordance with Prime Care policy. So that covers some of those vacation issues.
Are we privy to those policies?
Yes, you get a copy every single year. I'm also the policy director, the director of accreditations, and we give the superintendent a copy of the corporate policies, which are written in a broad brush because we have to cover all 58 facilities. And then additionally to that, part of Denise's job and the HSA job would be to write a very specific facility policy related to Carroll County. An example of that is simply the way you do your sick call. Because if you go to Rockingham County or Berks County in Pennsylvania or Dauphin, there's just subtle nuances in the way it's done different. So the corporate policies, which are always provided every single year, say you will do sick call. The local policy is sick call will be done on Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock in A block, on Thursday morning in C block, and I'm just kind of making up stuff like that. But all those policies are provided to the superintendent. Currently, combined policies for NCCHC and Prime Care policies for conducting correctional health care, we have over 200 different policies. A lot of those policies were driven on our experience over 25 years. And honestly, if there was a problem, we kind of look at it, address it, ensconce it in a policy, get it signed by myself and Dr. Hoffman, and send it out to all 58 other facilities. The other component that we do offer is just the basic education component. Denise was instrumental in just putting together some information about bed bugs. Everyone hears on the news, at least in Pennsylvania, kind of there have been some issues with bed bugs. So what we did there was put together this big education, send it out to all the facilities, so that when prime care was alerted, hey, there's a potential medical problem, all the information gets shared amongst all the administrators. And what that does is, it's that ounce of prevention is worth that pound of cure, because you end up getting something into the jails, it's really hard to get out. Another good example of this is, we've all heard about MRSA. You know, exactly what is that? We managed that with a very big comprehensive policy. Last year with the big flu crisis, everyone was getting all crazy about the flu. We take the medical lead, distribute that information. A big part of that, or a big component of that, in my opinion, is really the education of our staff. Because the news gets on there and sensationalized, like MRSA, oh my God, everybody's going to die. Okay, well, there have been some bad patient outcomes. However, if you identify it properly, you have a proper isolation procedure, and you have good education for the officers, the inmates, and the medical, the MRSA problem goes from here to here. And I'm not saying you won't have a MRSA issue or a MRSA patient, but if you all know what to deal with, and you have a policy ensconced in writing that we talk about and that we manage to, it's an issue we have to deal with. It's not, oh my God, what do we do now?
Let's say that you are requiring isolation for a number of inmates, and we don't have the spaces to isolate them. What happens then?
Excuse me. We have encountered that. Typically what we'll do is we'll work with the facility. Like, let's say we had a massive infestation of bed bugs. We'll go in there and we'll realize there's physical constraints. You're just not going to be able to take 60 people and take them to the Holiday Inn. That's just not going to happen. What we've done we've gone in there and said, okay, what can we do? We'll get the other health agencies involved. Can we do some temporary housing where we kind of isolate a section of the jail, put them maybe, and once again, I don't know the facility, so we put them in the gym, kind of get the areas cleaned out and get that disinfected. But we also realize there's going to come a time when we're going to say, oh my God, there's no place to move anybody else. We need to look at potentially moving some of our inmates who are not infected to other counties. We used to transfer inmates between Stratford and Rockingham County all the time. And that was simply a superintendent's agreement, because they may have more capability, and you might have more capability. So we work, and we do that extensively in Pennsylvania because we have a vast majority of those contracts. And it's easier to do that when we literally have all this big footprint. Here, I'll be honest, it's harder because we only have that one facility. So it would be a more difficult
Is there any
proposition.
in Massachusetts?
No, sir. No, sir.
Jason, do we have anyone presently doing Amy's job?
I would probably say that's the superintendent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Given that then, if you're saying that you're going to then hire someone to do that, that's going to come out of these
Yes.
contracts?
That's that very first one. It says 1 FTE, health service administrator. So the very top line there. Yeah, the superintendent essentially is acting as the de facto responsible health authority, in my opinion, and additionally probably acting as the medical director. I don't know what relationship he has with the doctor, but I'm pretty sure when the call comes in, he's being called and said, what do we do with this particular patient? He's asked to make a decision.
Well, let's say we have somebody that's got a toothache. You're not going to have dental in the facility. How does your people handle that?
Denise?
We have a protocol for that. Whenever an inmate has any medical issue, a toothache for instance, they put in a sick call slip. That sick call slip comes to medical and they're seen by one of our nurses.
Yeah.
If they have an abscess,
Yeah.
we call the provider and say, this gentleman has an abscess, here's what they're allergic to, and they will prescribe something, and painkiller, and we'll get rid of the infection, and then we'll decide if they go out to an outside dentist. but we don't just let them sit in pain until we get them